Let's talk about your 2025 plan to start a new business. Hopefully that's what you're here for, because that was the title of the video, and hopefully that's what you're here for. If not, maybe you've accidentally happened into something great. Stick around for a minute if you're thinking about maybe starting a business. Otherwise, let's jump into it, and we're going to be looking at this from a legal foundation, right? My channel here is focused on law or law around business. Obviously, we can't give you legal advice because that requires an attorney-client relationship. We're just giving you general principles and ideas, things you can discuss with your lawyers, things you can use to educate yourself more. This is all about education, all about ideas, and getting you more up to speed. So the big thing with your new business is potentially liability protection, right? That is why people typically go out, form an LLC or a corporation. Those are two biggies. There are other choices out there, obviously. But LLCs or corporations, people form these things because they want that firewall between their personal assets and their business assets. And if you've accumulated any amount of assets, and I'm looking at you out there who have had other jobs, have had careers, got some savings, got a house, maybe some of that equity is protected under state law, but you got a house, you got cars, you got things you want to protect. It is smart money generally to set up that LLC or corporation. It also positions you for the potential future sale of that business or the growth of the business. Because if the assets are held by that LLC or corporation, it becomes easy to sell that package to somebody else. If you get to the point where you're ready to exit that business, you can just sell the whole thing through the entity. Very simple. Don't have to separate out from your other assets. The other point is you can also bring in business partners much easier through an LLC or a corporation. So definitely what stuff that you want to think about, and they're relatively inexpensive, right? The most expensive part for many people is talking to the lawyer, and then from there the state filing fees to get these things set up. Most people will end up with an LLC. If there are reasons between the LLC and the corporation, it's something I've covered in past videos. It's something I can cover in future videos. Comment if you want me to do more depth on that or revisit that. Most people end up with an LLC because it's a little bit simpler, easier to file in most cases, easier to administer. The corporation does give you some more flexibility with capital raise and a little more structure if you're bringing in outside investors. These things exist under state law, right? So they're formed in the states where you decide to file them. And you don't necessarily have to file in a state that you're doing business in. So that's something a lot of people don't understand or recognize. You don't necessarily have to go to the state you're in. You can file in other states. And a lot of people pick places like Delaware or Wyoming to set up and start. But then you're going to probably have to get qualified to do business in the state you're in if you're doing business locally. You want to watch out for gotchas, and there are a lot of gotchas, and I have a video coming up planned for that. I've already started outlining it, so if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout. We'll be posting that video here in the not-too-distant future, hopefully, where we talk about these gotchas and things to look out for in your LLC agreement. I really want to spell this out because, unfortunately, as a practicing transactional lawyer, people come to me. They come to me after the fact. The problems have already happened. I read their documents, and there's just unfortunate wording and things we could have tweaked better if we had done it right from the beginning, right? A lot of times these forms you get off the internet, the copy and paste stuff, the stuff you buy for, $40 or $50 or whatever the case, they're not really tailored. They don't have the best stuff. Maybe they're sufficient, maybe. But they don't have all the other stuff. So, think about this. If you got money, if you got assets, you're putting significant time in there, just get some professional advice. I mean, I understand. If you're broke, living out of an apartment, and you've got no assets, and you decide, hey, I want to try to form a business, maybe you do the dice roll. Maybe you say, I got nothing to sue me for anyway, right? So at some point, everybody's at that phase of life, unless you have, super wealthy parents. There's a moment in time where you say, hey, I've got no assets, I've got no exposure, come after me. Once you start accumulating assets, then it's smart money to spend money to protect the assets you have, and that's where good wording in your LLC agreement and your documents and how you structure things, how you carry things out, good money to get some professional advice to make sure you're doing things in an optimal way. Throughout all this, you want to plan for flexibility, right? Your business is going to change potentially. Your owners are potentially going to change. And that's, again, something that well-written documents are going to have. Generally, as an LLC, you have a filing with the state. A lot of people miss it, but generally, in a lot of cases, it's advisable to have a written LLC agreement. So not only do you have this document you file with the state, which most people figure out because you can't open a bank account or get an IRS number without it generally. You file with the state, get a state document back. But then there's also generally in these state statutes, it contemplates an LLC agreement, operating agreement, company agreement, some type of document which lays out the principles and procedures of the company. Really smart to get that in there. When you get that in there, you want to be flexible. Can you change the business? Can you adjust what you do? Can you change the owners? If you're going into this as a partnership, maybe the partners don't want to change the business. Maybe you figure out the initial business model of a retail store selling specialty items didn't work, and now you're moving to an online world, and maybe one of your partners says, I really don't want to do it, that business. It's not an interest of mine. I wanted to have a physical location. I wanted to go to work every day. I wanted to talk to people. And so you want to be able to have flexibility to enter and exit people. That's stuff that well-written documents can do. So I say jump on it. I think 2025, there's going to be a lot of disruption. There's going to be many of you that are going to want to start businesses because of unusual things. You may lose a job. You may be forced to do it. You may want that additional income because, let's be honest, for a lot of people, pay raises aren't keeping up with inflation. We are moving into an entrepreneurial world. So there are a lot of reasons to get jumped into it. I think there is a good year here. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening macroeconomically, which I talk about a lot on my other channel, and a lot of shifts. But that opportunity there for you to grow and expand is going to be there. So questions, comments, drop them below. Let me know if you have thoughts or ideas for future videos. And if I see a theme or something important, I may pick that up. I get a lot of ideas from people asking me questions. So I do welcome your questions and comments below. I'll see you for another video soon.